Hello there, my fellow warriors, and welcome to another episode of Brave, Bold, and Unfiltered. And I'm excited today because I have a special guest, and she is one of the warriors that I tell just a small part of their story in my new book, Burn the Map. And even though I say a small part of the story, each part is so powerful and I know will connect with so many people. But I thought on this episode, it would be an opportunity for all of you to learn more about my guest. And, because these little snippets can kind of leave you with questions. What's the whole story? So I wanted to get into more of the story. And what's important is that everyone that's in this book has been through hardship. Yeah, like everybody else.
Yep.
But what's important is I'm talking about their courage and overcoming the grip of whatever beast they've been up against. And today I have my friend Donna Bova Manley on. Hey, Donna.
How are you, Val?
So good to see you all the way across the country.
Yep, for sure.
So, Donna, I could have said a lot of things about your story and your son's addiction, and it started the same time as Jamie's. It's kind of weird to think about that and how we have all of these things we could talk about, and maybe we'll touch on some of them. But you did something that I'm not going to say yet. You're going to have to wait to find out, my friends. You did something that really surprised me. That's included in the book. And it was a great honor, but I don't know that many people would ever do something like you did. And also, when people think about courage, Donna, who do you think about? You think about like warriors on the battlefield, actual battlefields, police officers, people like that. I want to touch on all these different types of courage because the kind of courage it took for you to do that, I think will surprise a lot of people. But before we get into that, how did you get to the point where this thing that I'm going to share that you did that was so courageous, how did you get here? And I know it started with your son, Anthony, and his addiction. And I only told a couple of stories of moms like me in this book. Most people have different types of challenges. You're one of only a couple that I decided to tell because you have a couple of really unique parts of your story related to courage. But before any of that makes any sense, we need to talk a little bit about when your journey started and what it was like. And so when your son Anthony got into addiction, well, how many years ago now? Almost
24.
a quarter. How many? 24? 24 years. So
15 years old.
24 years. Do you remember year one?
19. Oh, no, it wasn't. He's 14. Yeah, it was.
Do you remember what it was like? I mean, do you remember what year one was like and how devastating? And you never imagined you'd make it through 24 and counting.
Never, 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 never. And I attribute a lot of that to this incredible lady, Valerie.
Thank you.
Truly,
so much.
I truly do.
The
'Cause I
whole
was a
idea
mess
of this.
when I met you, I was a complete mess.
Okay, so let's back it up then. So the whole idea of Burn the Map and why I think this book is unique and different from anything that I've written about before, but it's really about how when life comes and punches you in the face, or, sometimes we burn our own maps. Anthony, Jamie, they took out the match. But in your case, it literally was like, what the hell? You had one of those moments where life turned your world upside down. So tell me just, real quickly, tell me about what your life was like before all hell broke loose.
It was normal. It was beautiful. It was, that wasn't going to happen to me. I was so anti-drugs, and that wasn't going to happen to one of my children. But it did, and it holds no prejudice, and it could happen to anyone. So it felt like a tornado ripped through my heart and home, and I acted on it right away, because I'm so type A. I immediately sent him to the best rehab in Connecticut, which I thought, okay, this is great. I'm going to have my son back after 30 days. That's how little I knew about this.
I mean, people might think it's weird that we're laughing.
No, yeah.
We're not laughing because it was so much fun.
That.
We're laughing because a 30-day program is kind of a joke.
It's a joke.
And I don't mean to say that in a disrespectful way to the programs or the people working hard in them, but these people are addicted to drugs, and you're just supposed to turn your life. It's really 28 days too. It's
28. That's right.
Right.
And $30,000 later to most of them.
What was it? How much?
And $30,000 later, 28
Well, because you thought
30,000,
right? The better. I mean, we pay more, we get better things. And so he was 15. No, when you finally He was,
Well, I sent him to his first rehab at 15. It
wow.
happened within the year of 15. I would say from 14, and I knew something was up at 14 going into 15. And then I just kept watching him and watching him and watching him. And something was very, very wrong, very wrong. And I picked up immediately. So I was going to fix it as best
Yeah.
as I knew how as a type A mother. And I was going to
So
fix
what
it.
happens to a type A person first and then a mom? Add that to the equation. What happens to a type A mom that can't fix it? What happens emotionally? What happens in
You
your
learn the
thinking, in your
hard
spirit?
way. You learn the hard way, Valerie, as you and I both know. 13 years of doing it wrong. Mine was 13, yours was 13 of doing it wrong, trying to guilt him, trying to pray it away, I used every tactic imaginable, enabling it, all of it, all of
And
it.
how are you left feeling after 13 years?
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
How are you left feeling at the end of these 13 years?
Drained, completely broken, completely. I just wanted my son back so badly. This was the only thing I ever wanted in life was children. Children. That was my goal. I wanted to be a mom. And I paid the price dearly for becoming a mom. I'm not saying because of Anthony. I just worked very hard to become a mom. My beautiful boy was slipping away. He was unrecognizable to me. It was horrible. It was horrible. And in my memory bank, I started as like a baby, looking at him as a baby and saying, how did this beautiful baby, this miracle boy of mine, how the hell did this happen? How did it happen? It felt horrible. The whole thing felt horrible. And
It's a
then I
very
found you.
helpless feeling, isn't it?
Very,
And
very,
and
very,
I
very.
call it paralyzing fear. I think, people, a lot of people know fear. I mean, we all know fear. This kind of fear is the kind that makes you feel like, well, because I've tried 5,000 things and none of it's worked over this period of time, which is a lot of years. I mean,
Absolutely.
you think you can't make it through hard times sometimes for a day. Try
Right.
13 years on for size. And so you're left feeling helpless and like a failure as a mom and all the stuff I know. But then you mentioned something. So you're watching your son slip away, but yet as his mom who Anthony really is. And,
Mhm.
underneath every person who's addicted to drugs is this other person who's the real person, not the one that the beast wants you to see. So I think before we talk about where things are today that caused you to make this decision and ask me this thing that surprised me so much, I want to know, because I don't know Anthony, I want to know, forget addiction. Let's forget addiction. Who is he really?
He's my beautiful boy. He's got more talent in his little finger than most people have in a lifetime. He's an a cappella singer, phenomenal. He's
Hey,
a
wait. Stop a minute.
poet
He is? How did that come about?
because he's very artsy like his mom. He's very creative. His brain works on the creative side. He's a phenomenal actor. He was all over. He's
Really?
a phenomenal actor. We always say he could have been the best attorney in the world because he could talk anyone into buying anything. With Bruce, he was in the Boy Scouts with my now husband Bruce, and
Oh,
he
really?
broke all kinds of sales with the Boy Scouts because he
Oh.
sold. They still have not. They still in selling grass or whatever the heck they were selling. They still have not broken Anthony's record. So Anthony had a bright future to look forward to. Phenomenally bright, a humongous heart. Always went for the underdog. Kind. I've seen him in the throes of his addiction, giving a homeless person his last dollar in his wallet. I mean, he's got such a heart. He would take off his clothes to give it to someone in need. And he's always been that way.
And you know what? I'm sure that in addiction, there's a lot of selfishness. And, there's a change in personality when what they care the most about is getting drugs. But I guarantee you that somebody has seen, a lot of somebody's probably, even in the world he's in, would still say those things because
They still do,
see it.
Valerie. I just got a phone call last week from one of his friends, and he said, where's my boy? Because we don't know where Anthony is right now. The only one that knows everything is his dad. But, Larry
He's
called.
not talking.
No, he's not letting me know anything.
That's a whole nother episode, my friends.
Yeah, not anything. And that's a heartbreak that I had to get through because Anthony is very sick right now. And we will get into that, I'm sure, because
Yes.
of what you're going to share.
But you said this friend called.
So Larry called and said, I miss my boy. Anthony's hiding out right now. And I miss my boy. And he was like in tears. And I said, Larry, I don't want to, I don't want to, I
If
don't want
you
to,
have to shed a tear, it's
I
fine.
don't want to lose it. So, because this is for your book, this isn't about me.
No,
But
this is
this,
about you.
listen, this is what an addict's mother, I hate the word addict, someone that has the disease of addiction, this is what we look like. We look like all of America, all of the world, all of
Yes,
this
that's
is what
right.
we look like, people. This is what we look like. So Larry called and said, we were supposed to go to find him yesterday. And he said, Larry, what's he gonna, if we find him, because if we find him, I go, he's been mad at me for many, many months, as you know, Valerie. I don't even know why, but I know it's the addiction. It's the
Yeah,
addiction piece that
sure.
has him. And he said, Donna, I said, well, because he hasn't talked to me. He goes, Donna, he loves you so much. He does not, he's protecting you right now. The one that he has a hard time with is his dad, his whole life. And that's facts. But Larry made me feel so good because I treat all of his friends with respect. And I've always, even, I don't care how down on the mat they were, I always treated them with respect and love and like a human being. And Larry always says to me, Donna, what you did for me. And I'm not, Valerie, you know me, I'm not a bragging person. Anthony got that from me to go on after the underdog or the less than or the whatever. And Larry was one of those. I used to give him a Christmas every year, a tree and presents and decorate his house. And because he has no one else. He has no one else. And he's like, I'll never forget what you did for me. And then he's like, no, Anthony loves you with all of his heart. Valerie, I felt so good after that because his dad kind of likes to give me well, he hates you and this and that. And he's like, no, 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 no. He's had
You
the
know what,
problem.
Donna? It's interesting you say that
Yeah.
because you know that when Jamie was murdered, I hadn't seen her or spoken to her in a year and a half. I hadn't heard her voice. I hadn't seen
Mm-hmm.
her. And there was email exchange, which you know about in this. I don't need to get into all this. What the point I'm trying to make is that
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure out there somewhere someone's read my story and wondered how I could go that long or wondered why that happened. We must have been in a fight. We must have had a rift. The fact of the matter is, when I told Jamie that this is what my life looks like, and it doesn't include addiction, active using, it doesn't include people shooting people and all the danger that comes with addiction. This is not
Right.
just about people ODing, my friends. It's a dangerous world. Out of respect for me, Jamie went off to live her life, and I didn't chase her down. So that's just the fact of the matter. I don't know that anyone really thinks about what you just said, that sometimes out of respect, they stay away. Out of
Well,
respect, he's not dragging his shit. Oops, sorry, came out. He's not
no,
dragging
but
that into
Valerie,
your
you're
life.
so right. And I believe, and I think of Jamie through this from September until now so much. And you and her, and you not seeing her for a year and a half. And I know why you didn't see her. And that gives me such strength because here you are again. All right, here we are again.
Yeah.
Anthony's following, it's the same story. It's pretty much the same story.
Well, I mean, these
Very,
stories
very
don't
similar.
end well unless they
No,
get out of it, out from underneath
no,
that beast. Okay.
no,
They're either going to go to prison, they're going to OD, or like Jamie got murdered. I mean, something that's a lot
that's
less likely. But what I wanted to say is, first of all, is that just for you to be the smiley, positive, supporting other people, continuing to be that generous, giving person that Anthony's friend talked about, for you to do that while your son is killing himself, I want people to understand how hard that is. Just getting up, going about your business.
right.
I know that you've owned a hair salon and been in that business for a long time. That you give a lot when you're working on someone, touching their body and
You
hearing
sure?
about all their stuff, right?
You're a
For you to
therapist.
do that every day,
You're not a stylist. You're a therapist.
right?
No,
You're
you
a hair,
do.
you're a therapist. Is that a word?
Without a doubt.
Yeah, for you to do all of that, people think of different words. I think it's called courage. For you to say, I'm not going to be the victim. I'm not going to, it doesn't mean you can't tell your story to people,
Yeah.
which I think you should, but you're not going to carry around this awful face every day and make the rest of the world suffer because you're going through that. It takes a lot of courage to do that, Donna.
It does. And I didn't think I could do it. I
That
truly didn't think I
that
could.
Donna back then that had that life you talked about, that you sounded idyllic, right? You thought the life was so great and you had your three children and everything's wonderful, before hell broke loose. That Donna, I guess, would never imagine that this Donna could be where
Never.
she is today.
Never. Never.
So how is
I
that
always said to God, if you take away, this was way before Anthony's addiction, if you take away one of my children, dig my grave right near them, because you might as well take me too.
Yeah, and God was up there going, "Okay, gotcha, Donna. No graves have been dug, have they?"
Mm.
So do you think that you had the courage all along, you just hadn't had to use it yet?
Probably. I probably did. But it's also, you have to really put the hard work in, Valerie, as you and I know. And it's
Yes.
not easy. Our children have to put the work in to find sobriety. But us moms, and I want to emphasize this, I really, really do. We have to work just as hard as them.
Yeah.
Because this is
Maybe
against
harder.
all the rules of being a mom. Okay, let them go. Exactly what you did, exactly what I'm doing now. I was supposed to go to Springfield, Massachusetts yesterday to go see Anthony with Larry, and I chose not to do it. I chose not to do it.
Okay, I just have to stop you for a second because I need people to get this. At first glance, something like that might seem like weakness. That might seem like fear. It takes great courage to protect our own hearts, our own lives, our own minds, because this is not all about Anthony. It is devastating what's happening, and this part of you, this hole in your heart, Donna. But you have more life to live, and it takes a lot of courage for you to stick up for yourself, especially when you're not so wired that way.
Not at
You're not.
all.
No,
Not at all. I
you're the
think
giver.
everybody else. No, no, not at all. But Valerie, I did it for him and I did it for me. I did it for both of us because I didn't want to put him in that. It was like me going in the hospital room in September and him saying, Mom, just like my girls, Adriana, Alicia, they went separately. Mom, I don't want to see you while I'm like this. I don't
Yeah.
want to see you. And we have to respect that too.
Yeah.
We have to take that and respect that. Because if I went to go find him, that would have been for me, not for Anthony. That would have been for me. And I would have embarrassed him. I would have seen him probably jaundice and everything else. And I'm like, this is not going to be good for either him
Wow.
or me. I really thought it through and said, the old Donna would have been in Springfield, Massachusetts every single day.
You'd have left Larry at home and you'd have been in the car and left.
Well, I've done it.
I'm sorry, Larry.
Up there. It's not a fun town. Believe you me.
Yeah, I mean, that's so everybody has what it takes to make it through anything. I firmly believe that. We don't think we can in the beginning, number one, because we look at courage in a different way. We think courage is, like we said earlier, these other types of people, not us, or the types of experiences they
Right.
have. It's running toward gunfire. It's going into a burning building. We don't think of courage in the way that it takes for us to be who we are and where we are today.
Mhm.
That's why I'm so eager for people to read Burn Them Out, because I want people to see different types of courage in action and to realize that you can see yourself in these people. Someone just even watching this or listening today is going, oh, I'm the old Donna that doesn't think I can make it.
Right.
And then here's this Donna 23 years later. I told a couple of your stories in the book, but one of them is the one that I say take to heart, but it's really in the section about heart and what the heart can endure. And it's not even just endure, because the word courage comes from a Latin word cor, which means heart. So we think the heart is weak, the heart, it gets sad, the heart breaks, and then the brain thinks about all the brave stuff. But courage actually comes from our heart. When we charge into battle, when we do the hard thing, it's actually still coming from your heart.
That's right.
I mean, isn't that cool? To think that it's this thing that we think is so weak, and it's not. It's strong and it's brave, and it also has a hole in it, and it breaks, and it's all of it. So here we are several months ago when you realize that your son is, like Jamie just died one day. Now you're living in this different situation where things are not good with his health. And I don't know how he's still chugging along, who knows? Maybe, I don't know. But tell us a little bit about that. And then I want to talk about this brave thing that you did connected to this very sad part of your story.
Anthony was in the hospital last September, and I had no knowledge of it. His dad was pretty much the only person that knew, and I guess he decided his mom didn't need to know that he was gravely ill, dying, and in the hospital. So that's one thing that I don't remember who called me or told me. but I ran to Yale New Haven Hospital. I got in the car. I think I got there in 10 minutes. I knew it was pretty significant. I had no idea what I was walking into. I just knew that my son was very, very sick and in the hospital. No knowledge of anything. So I go there, and the doctors, it was in a ICU ward where you have to like suit up from head to toe. The doctors were having a meeting about my son, and they said, kept me waiting for an hour and a half. And I said, I know how to work the system so I said to the nurse, I knew Anthony would say, don't give her any information. So I wanted to find out. I used that hour and a half to find out as much information as I could. And I got it. Unfortunately, I wish I didn't do that. That's where my type A comes in, because I wouldn't have known. And so I'll never forget a nurse said to me, endocarditis. I go, what is endocarditis? What is it? She goes, it's bad. Here, I'll write it out for you. This is it.
Oh, how sensitive can you be, nurse?
So I had no idea what she was even talking about. I went home. I went into the worst feeling of my life. I mourned him so much, Valerie. And they said he's going to die. If he leaves this hospital, he's going to die.
Can you stop for a second? For the people who don't know what that is, can you tell us what that is?
And it's a very bad infection.
Of the heart?
Of the heart that IV drug users get, and the elderly. And it's a very bad infection that never goes away, and it kills you. It shuts down your organs. It kills you. Anthony got a week of IV antibiotics, but you need 6 weeks to kill the endocarditis, because plaque goes off the heart and you could have a stroke. It doesn't end well. He left after a week. Right now, what my friends, I know a lot of doctors, and I believe me, I've used them all. My girlfriend's husband's a cardiologist, and I just saw her last week or the week before, and I'm like, tell me, please ask your husband, please ask, why is my son, I hate to say it, but not dead yet?
Because he left the hospital. He should have had 6 weeks, and after 1 week, he checked himself out, right?
And he's going out on his terms. That's what my son's doing. He's going out on his terms. But that news was, I think I called you with what you're going to say probably 2 weeks after that, because I just, maybe
go ahead and tell the story. I don't need to tell the story. It's your
story.
No,
you tell the story. I don't know.
So what you did is, it'll be interesting to see what somebody's reaction was to this act of courage, because I don't think it was an act of giving up or being morbid or anything. You asked me to help you write Anthony's eulogy.
I did.
Which, first of all, can I just say, I don't want to start crying myself. Besides being kind of surprising, obviously, but it was such an honor, especially because I don't know Anthony. I mean, I've never met him. I can't, say anything about him, but I do know you. And I didn't really write the eulogy. I just gave you some kind of ideas and thoughts is all. But the fact that you are facing losing your son, which I can tell you is definitely, you and I've talked about this before. Mm-hmm. You're strong. You've already got a broken heart. Let's face it. You've had one for a long time.
Very long.
But I told you before that if Anthony, this is before he was ever sick.
Long before.
I said, if Anthony does die, Donna, it will devastate you. It doesn't matter how strong you are. Mm-hmm. The strongest warriors, the people that are so courageous and brave, we fall apart too.
Of course we do.
I thought it was very brave of you to want to do this ahead of time, when even though you're heartbroken now, you can do it. It's more clear. You're more clear to write the words then, because trust me, if it happens, you'll be in a fog.
Exactly.
So we did that, but then you sat down. This is the part that I didn't really know about until I put that in the book, and you mentioned your sister, Julie, right?
Yeah.
So then you and Julie sat down. What was that like?
Well, my sister,
Aunt Julie.
Yeah,
right?
my sister is his godmother, and she loves him so much, so much. It was really hard for her too, because Bruce was there too, of course, and he kind of let us do our thing. He was helping with some of the wordage and stuff, and my sister's extremely smart. So we're opposites. I'm the social butterfly. She is like the brilliant one.
Oh, you're smart too.
I write from my heart. She writes from her brain. So we're very different in our approach too, because we both did my dad's eulogy too. And it was very different stories, but they were both as good. And we cried a lot during it. We really did, but we wanted to get it perfect. And she came over to help me do it.
What a wonderful thing for your sister to do. I mean, it took courage for her to do that too. That's not an easy day.
Very,
So
very hard.
will you read it yourself?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. I have to. I must.
So
I have.
having done this in advance will allow you probably to do that more than if it happened and you had a couple days and your brain was in a fog and having already read it before, read it again, you'll probably be
It's
better
tucked away,
prepared.
Valerie. I haven't even looked at it.
You
It's tucked
haven't.
away.
You tucked
No,
it away for this.
because I can't. My heart's too broken right now. But it's done. It's
Yeah.
done.
Yeah. So now how are you managing anxiety
I
over
have hope. Trust me. I
when the
have
phone call,
memories.
when, do you ever like get a weird number on your phone, which I do every
Al-
day? And
Always, always. And I have to get it because all these crazy solicitors, always.
yeah, but you don't know if it's
My
going to
phone
be,
is always on me, just waiting for that call.
so
And
you'll probably hear
it's
from
not easy.
Larry now after he sees Anthony, right? You'll hear from him.
Larry's not going to see. I was going to take him. I was going to pick him up.
You were going to go. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, no, but I mean, I'm just really such a sad, no one can understand it unless they're facing what you're facing.
No, no
Not,
one. And I wouldn't wish this on Valerie. I wouldn't wish this on anyone.
no.
Listen, you and I have spoken so many times. It does make you a better person. It does. I would have loved to have learned a different way on how to become a better
I
person.
keep saying I'd like to be less of a good person then, if that's the way it
It
works.
does change us forever. It truly does. And I am a much
Okay, but Donna, I guarantee you, it changes some people in not good ways. It changes some people who just become bitter and resentful and angry, and
Yes.
they just are lost in grief. And
Yes.
it's a
Yes.
choice.
I have to say can I say a little story, a fast little story?
Sure.
You can cut it out if you want. But
We're not cutting
so,
anything. We don't
so,
cut.
so
On Brave, Bold, and Unfiltered, we don't cut.
my friend in Florida, my very dear friend, I was at my very best friend's house in Estero, 2 hours away. So I wasn't home. Well, this French bulldog, not that I don't even know what they look like, bit her finger off right across the street
Off?
from my house. Off. So Donna being Donna, she's calling me from the hospital. I'm rushing home. I went nuts because the woman, her name is Donna. She lives across the street from me. I do not know her. I know nothing about her. And her dog bit my good friend's finger off, and I went into fight mode. So I want to say this really fast because there's the reason I'm saying this is this. So I went into fight mode. I went banging on her door. Italian Donna went banging on her door. She would not give us any information about the dog if he had its shots or not. So Dahlia's in the hospital for 3 days having to get all these shots because she was not cooperating with the hospital staff and calling her.
Did they sew her finger back on?
For 3 days.
Wow.
They did. They didn't. The doctor said, we don't know if you're going to have a finger or not when you wake up. Like basically it was going to. So thank God she has her finger. Everything's good. So I said to her, listen, I'm used to working with attorneys. I'm not afraid of any of them. I said, now you're going to see a different version of me. And she's Hebrew. So she has an accent. And there's prejudice in this world in regards.
Really? Yeah,
I
you
was
think?
very, very taken back by that.
Yeah.
Very. So my fight was even harder. So I went right to the police station. Now, if I did this in Connecticut, I would have gotten treated I hate to say it, but I would have gotten treated so much better. They're like, you were going to her house. They were awful. I dealt with them. I dealt with the dog police. Then after all of this, getting all this stuff done and hiring the attorney and the police and the dog police, one of my friends came over in my backyard. He's like, Donna, tell me about Dahlia. And I said, well, her finger was cut off by this woman, Donna's dog. But again, everybody has a story. That's why I'm saying this. So he goes, Donna, he lost a daughter to fentanyl. He knows what I'm going through because I helped 3 different people in that neighborhood with what they're going through with their children.
Oh, wow.
He said, Donna's daughter died a year ago. Valerie, you could imagine. Here's me banging on the door.
Oh, my God.
From guess what? And I said, Stefan, his name's Stefan. I said, Stefan, not from what I'm going through. And he goes, I said,
wow.
but
You never know, do
you
you?
know what reminded me of that? So this woman is very angry, is very mad. Yes, she lost her daughter a year ago, but you know what? That doesn't give her the right
Yes.
to treat my friend the way she treated my friend. So she's one of the people that did not take the lesson out of it. She is a victim, and she is like they said, don't do anything. Her daughter died a year ago. Well, that doesn't give her license to be mean to my friend
No.
and not to pick up the phone from the hospital. That's why I brought this story up.
Yep. That's a perfect
That's
example of you're right. A perfect example of what I said. That
So we
it's
have a
how you
choice.
choose.
We have a choice.
Yep. We
You can either
always,
become a victim and I said this loud and clear for 24 years, either we have a choice to either become better for it and help others, which the world needs right now,
yes.
because we're in a crisis, people.
Yes.
If you don't know it or not, we're in a big fentanyl crisis and opioid crisis. You know, my neighbor was here the other day and he's like, yeah, when I had back surgery, they gave me 150 opioids. I'm like, that, I said, the Skackler family, right? The Skackler family did it. He goes, Purdue Farmer. You know, everyone knows about Purdue Farmer
Oh,
in
yeah.
Stamford, Connecticut. I mean, everyone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I
That
said,
toothpaste
right
is out of the
now,
tube.
if you went to that doctor right now, I helped pass that bill that they could only give 30 opioids. I don't care for what. They don't give 150 opioids anymore. I went through the roof while he's sitting in the chair saying, and then he goes, I used to work for the Skackler family. I'm like, oh my God, Alan, I really liked you. He goes, no. He goes, I worked. I go, they should all be shot up with fentanyl. Every single one of them. He works for the fathers, and they were nothing like that.
Right.
So
Yeah. Oh
got
my
a
gosh.
100 deep
But
pill.
that brings up the other part that I put in there is that you not only pick up the phone and help other moms who are in a crisis, but you've also helped, like you just mentioned, that legislation. And I know you've done something with trying to keep dealers from getting bail. And
Hmm.
this is the difference between someone who's just angry with the world and blaming the world for what happened to them. And it's understandable because it's
Of course.
devastating. But, Donna, we're always standing at a crossroads.
Always.
Okay. So, like, this is
Always.
terrible. But now what? Now what? What do I do next? And the fact that you're willing to put your heart out there to others going through it is commendable, first of all, because it's exhausting
It is.
to
Well, you
step
know
into
it
someone
too,
else's
Valerie.
story.
Listen, I had to take a little break in September. I took like a 3-month break. I just had nothing to give.
Good for
I had
you.
not, but then I stepped right back into it once I worked through my grief. And I mean, I'm still grieving.
Of
There's
course. You're going
no
to grieve
bones
for the
about
rest of
it.
your life, no matter
I'm
what
still
happens.
grieving. I'm grieving terribly,
Yeah.
terribly.
But I guess that's the important thing about grief is that I think people need to understand is what Donna and I don't do is pretend the grief isn't there. We don't tuck it away. If we did, we'd fall apart one day and we'd be, our
Mhm.
dog would be biting neighbors and we wouldn't care. So, I mean, that would be us.
Right.
But it's not that we grieve when we need to. We
We
cry
do.
when we need to. We just don't let it envelop our entire life.
And you taught us that, Valerie, that you know what, it doesn't, and I say this wherever I speak, doesn't matter how many times you get down, it matters how many times you get back up.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
so true.
what are you going to do? Stay down? And the problem is too,
We
Donna,
have a
the longer,
choice.
what's
We have
that?
a choice. We have a choice.
We have a choice. And the problem is too, I'm not saying you should bounce back up like the little thing we used to hit when we were kids and the sand thing and it would just pop up. Sometimes you got to stay down a little, I don't know how long, but the longer you stay down with the beast on top of you, the harder it's going to be to get back up.
Absolutely.
Because you start believing the lies. You start,
Without
like
it.
you're a perfect example with what you're going through right now. You could be, if the beast, I mean, sure, he's tried to get back into your head and say, well, you should have gone to Springfield yesterday. What if? Well, you should have done this. Why are you not tracking him down? I mean, you know what I mean? I know about that.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to be strong enough to not believe the lies.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I wanted to just close this one with something that I know I've said before, but I know this is you saying it. And I think that's so important. 23 years, 24 years.
Or, yeah.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
that means only 24. So you had 14, 15 before that weren't hell. So
Mhm.
you've had 2/3 of Anthony's life has been very hard and
Very,
very sad and very
very,
heartbreaking.
very.
And I know some people wonder, would it have been better if we just didn't, that Garth Brooks song, The Dance,
The what?
The Dance, it
Yes.
says, I could
Yes.
have missed the pain,
Yes.
but I'd have had to miss the dance. So the dance was 14 or 15 years and maybe a sprinkling here and there, but the rest of it's been very, very hard. So I want to ask you a question. I already know the answer, but I want to know how you answer this. Is it worth it?
I would do it all over again in a minute. I lost 6 babies before him. I would do it all over again in a minute. In a
It's
minute.
the price we pay for love, isn't it?
In a minute. Just like yes, my children and my grandchildren are my everything.
Yeah.
Everything. And it doesn't
So
exclude
how do
Anthony.
we avoid grief then? We don't
You
love
don't.
anyone.
You
We just
don't.
don't love anyone.
You don't. No, You don't avoid grief because when you love hard, you grieve.
What if you just don't love anyone? I guess that's the only way to avoid it.
Sure.
Just don't love anyone.
Then you'll be that woman in the cave.
Right. The old woman in the cave.
You'll be the
Exactly.
old woman in the cave.
Exactly. So I know you paid a huge price for love, but earlier in our discussion, you told us about what Anthony was like and who he still is. And if you ever do have to give that eulogy, that's what you remember. It's amazing, Donna, because I haven't forgotten all the crap that Jamie put me through, that addiction put me through, that the beast, I haven't forgotten any of it. Why don't I talk about it very much? You said it earlier. Well, we always have a choice. I just don't feel like it's necessary to keep talking about those bad parts of Jamie, because when I take the 2/3 and 1/3, like you said, for Jamie, it was 50-50. I don't want to focus on the bad parts. I want to remember who she truly was underneath the weight of her beast. And I think that's what you do all the time. When you talk about him, your eyes light up, you have a smile on your face, and you don't allow the beast to win.
I won't. My faith is too strong. I won't. I'll smash him. Believe me. I have many times. I won't. He has no power over me.
Sweet little Donna goes Italian on the beast in an upcoming episode.
I've done it, Valerie.
I believe it. Well, thank you first for allowing me to tell just, these important pieces of your story that are in the book, that are in that section, the sections that the two parts of your story are in would not have been anywhere close to as good if I wasn't able to tell your stories in that.
Guys, I have to tell you, ladies, gentlemen, this woman, this is going to be, I had the privilege of reading a lot of it because I got mine yesterday. But prior to that, I had the privilege of reading the first chapter. This book is going to blow everyone's socks away, because if you like Still Standing After All the Tears and you like all of Valerie's other books, this is a very unique book. It's for everyone that's gone through anything, and even people that haven't gone through anything. This book is for everyone. That's all that I want to say. It's amazing.
Thank you. It's funny you said that. It's because I dedicated it to anyone who's walked through fire, but I love that you said anyone who hasn't yet.
Because it will give them the tools on how to.
Yeah. Can you imagine, Donna, if we had grown up with someone who came alongside us and said, listen, life's going to get hard on you. I don't know how. Something's going to blow up on you, right? You're going to get blindsided. But here are some things that you can do to not protect yourself. Nobody's going to protect themselves, to create the courage and the stamina and everything you're going to need. Wouldn't that have been amazing if we had some tools before the storm hit?
Definitely.
So that's a good, we've had to learn through fire,
We sure did.
Yep. Well, thank you again, Donna, for being a part of the book, being a part of this episode today, and also just being who you are, because everyone that comes in contact with you feels you. You give a piece of yourself, and that is how your legacy is going to live on in this world forever. Long past Donna, the time someone's talking about you, reciting your eulogy, there's going to be pieces of you living in other people.
Yeah,
living forever.
Thank you.
So thank you. I love you, Donna.
I love you so much.
Have a great day.